Hello, chat. Hello. Lunchtime here at Cincinnati Reds, Great American Ballpark, here in Cincinnati. Finished my lunch. Now, doing the pod. Hope everyone had a good day so far. If you're catching this at the end of your day, hope your day was good. It was kind of like floopy here today. It's a really nice day today. It's a little less humid than it was yesterday and a little less hot. So, not as soupy, swampy as yesterday. So I'm feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about it today. But hold on. Someone's doing a little exercise stuff. So, yeah, big business here, right? Talking money moves. Okay. Nothing too crazy for me today. Just a regular day. Hopefully, and secure a series win here and stay in the race. And maybe by the end of the night, might be tied for a spot in the wild card hunt. So, a little windy too. It sounds like from what people have said in the comments, sounds like what people have said in the comments, the wind's okay. You guys don't hear it too much. I hope that's true. The mic is a little lower on my collar today. Hopefully, I haven't thought about it. I'm like now thinking about it and I don't even know if I should. So I'm just going to pretend like everything is good and people are going to listen and not switch off immediately. Okay, a couple questions today. A couple fun ones. If you all are interested in asking questions, you could always feel free to stop me in the halls and ask me questions. If you see me IRL, you could also put it in the comments below. So you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. And of course, in the Discord, that is probably the easiest place for me to look, as well as in chat when I am live. So, question today. Someone asked about my interview process and like what my interview process was like, what, and they didn't even ask about like what are the similarities or differences. They were just like, what did you do? So, what did I do for my interview? It's funny because like, I want to pretend like my interview was just like all the other ones and, you know, that was that. But, my Reds interview from beginning to end was a few things. One, it was my first non-academic, non-neuroscience related interview. So, even if I didn't get the job, all my neuroscience and academic friends were like, yo, this is crazy that you're getting interviewed by a baseball team. I'm like, yeah, who knew cognitive neuroscience would lead you in this direction? So, my interview process, the first one was just like a basic, who am I? Do I like baseball? And then the technical question My technical assessment was this was in 2016, off-season 2016, going into 2017. And the technical assessment was, here's a bunch of batted balls, so balls hit to the outfield specifically. For these IDs, they gave me in this data set, each row was a ball hit into the outfield. So where it would land. And then you get the XY coordinates of your fielders, your outfielders. And it said for these, it was like 5 or 6 IDs of batters, where would you position these players? Or where would you position players in general? So they gave you basically how hard they hit the ball, where the ball was going, where the players, so one row would have where the players were in terms of outfielders, and then it would have the event, whether it was an out or a hit. So I was like, okay, well, this is an interesting problem because you kind of need to know a handful of things. One, you need to know if a player, an outfielder, would be able to get to a particular ball in the first place, right? Like, not all outfielders are built the same. Some are slower than others. Some have better hands than others. Some have better jumping or diving ability than others. So the difference, look, it's like peanut shells falling from the stands. So not all fielders are crafted the same way, which makes sense, right? Like, you watch it, you see it when you're playing the game. So my first thing was to take all of the fielders and try to create some sort of clustering around the fielders. Now, what I'm about to say is something I've said on the stream, and something I've said probably on this pod before, and something I say all the time. And that's decomposition tools, things that are supposed to feature decompose or feature compress, they are not clustering tools. These are ways to take your feature set and squeeze it into a smaller feature set with a similar amount of the quality. So dimension reduction is not clustering. People try to use dimension reduction as clustering, and it is not clustering, it is dimension reduction. You can pretend it's clustering, but your assumptions are going to be somewhat wrong depending on the type of clustering you're looking for. If you want clustering, you should just look at the seemingly infinite amount of different clustering methods that are specifically designed to cluster based off the type of data you have, and not pretend that dimension reduction, feature compression is a clustering method, because it's not. It is not. So on my assessment, I used dimension reduction. I PCA'd. I made all these features. I made distance to the ball features. I made sprint features. Basically made all these features per each of these players. And then I tried to say, all right, given one player, since one player might not have enough of a sample to get to a particular ball, what I want to do is I want to create archetypes for fielders. So if there are certain fielders, then they can get to certain balls better than others, right? So create this dimension reduction space, and I come up with a I think it's like 7 or 8 different components, or sorry, 7 or 8 different, I guess components, but 7 or 8 different categories of player in terms of what they can do and how their principal components correlated with their ability. So I had that, and then I said, okay, well, if we just took the average of all of the abilities in each of these things, right? So how fast you are, your fielding ability, etc. Basically how likely you can convert an out given how far you are away from a ball. That should be a feature, and that should be a feature that we should output for each of these clusters, right? So given where a ball is and where an initial starting point is, you could say each of these clusters would perform this way on this player, on this type of batted ball. And so, well, the technical assessment question was, sorry, chat. Someone called me and interrupted my flow. So, anyway, given these players who are hitting balls into the outfield, how would you position for these players who are hitting? My output was, well, it's not just one positioning because it is dependent on the fielders you have. From my calculations, there are these types of players, and of these types of players, you could position them in these ways. So that was my answer. My answer was, here's how you field, or here are players and where they're supposed to go if they fit into these clusters. They're not clusters, PCs, but clusters. And if you place them in these positions, then that's how I would do it, depending on the type of players you have making up your team. Which then I went on to say, like, given the projected Reds outfield, this is how I would position each of these players. So, when I got to my interview, my then boss, or I guess soon-to-be boss, asked me, okay, would you use this to position people today? And I was like, probably not. And he was like, why? I'm like, well, there's probably more data available, right? Like, there are probably other things you should consider. And he was like, well, what else would you consider? I said, well, we don't even know if, like, positioning these particular outfielders have any interaction on positioning everyone else. Like, wouldn't we want to position everyone to do their best versus positioning or optimizing for 3 outfielders as opposed to, all the guys on the field? And he was like, well, why would you think outfielders have an interaction with the infielders? And I said, well, context matters too, right? Like, if you're playing someone more shallow and you're trying to play for a double play, isn't that depth different than if you're playing straight up or standard positioning? Like, aren't there more considerations? The data that we're given doesn't have any of those considerations. They're just balls hit into the outfield, no consideration to the situation. And he was like, okay. interesting. I was like, all right, I'm fucking fired already. So I did ask once I got hired, like, what was it that allowed me to get hired? And he said, like, yeah, your technical assessment was different than everyone else's. And it was a very, like, methodologically heavy approach. And that's something that we needed. And when I talked to the other person who got hired alongside me, he actually used a very similar approach as well. So he used PCA, and approached it not from the perspective of outfielding, but from the perspective of, like, batted balls in general. Do certain batted balls cluster, and therefore, like, if you put people in the middle of centroids or clustered areas, like, is that the best place to put them? So he did it from the batting perspective. I was like, this is an interesting problem, but I don't know if this really tests whether or not I could do the job, you know? But lo and behold, here I am doing the job, so. Okay. Hopefully that was a satisfactory answer, chat. Next question. One more. This one is, I don't really know how to answer this one. Well, I do, but I don't know what answer the person who asked is looking for. But someone asked, when... Oh man, do I have to... Oh no, I'm fine. Someone asked, when is it time to leave a company? And their context was specifically leave a startup. And so I'll answer this in a couple ways, because I've obviously left several different companies, and I'm currently leaving a career. So that's streaming, chat. I'm retiring from streaming. So I think there are, like, I'm pretty, and this is just a personal anecdote. Like, I would take my advice if I were you, simply because you have different circumstances, you have different situations than I do. You have other things in terms of responsibilities you have to care about other than I. So I would go on to say whatever I'm about to say applies to me and only me. And if you are taking my advice in some form, I hope it is in conjunction with a lot of other advice. So, my thoughts on leaving, there's like 3 things that I require from a job, basically at any time. A lot of people like to say money first, which I do think is important, but I do think there is also like a threshold of the amount of money you can functionally spend in a month. And so long as I'm above that, I don't care, right? So money is not one for me. I think is the job fun? Which is like a really silly thing to say, but it's true. For me, if the job is fun, then like that's almost one of the most important things, right? For me, I want to be able to go in and like have fun. I want to be able to go in and be able to do my job and feel like I'm contributing to my organization, to my company in positive, meaningful ways. And for me, it's fun to be right. It's fun to do things correctly. It's fun to solve problems. So if I'm doing that, I'm very good at doing some of this stuff, then I feel like I'm having fun. So fun's a pretty big requirement for me. And it's not just like the work I'm doing I find enjoyment in, but it's also the people I'm working with, my hierarchy above me, my opportunities for growth, like the potential for me to change or influence the company in positive ways, or change and influence the company in new ways, right? Like those are all fun for me. Whether or not they're good, I guess we have to see, right? But I got a pretty strong assumption that they're going to be good, you know. So that's like a pretty top line requirement for me. Fun. Second thing that's really important to me is like support from whoever my boss or bosses are. So if I have support from my boss or bosses, then I feel like I belong, you know. They brought me in, they have my best interest in mind. At least that is the trust I'm extending. And so if they see a plan for me, if they have a vision for me and how I fit and how I could do the things I want to do, then great. That's a good boss, and that's a good situation for me. So that's two. So one being, I want to be having fun. Two, I want someone's above me. I want that person to have a plan or know how to put me in the best situations. Hold on, the concourse cleaner is cleaning right now, so I'm gonna make sure I don't get ran over. Let's see. All right, we'll go this way. I'm not getting ran over. So, number 3 is money. So, the third thing for me is like, am I getting paid enough to live my lifestyle? And I'm definitely not like frugal by any means. I'm not someone who's, you know, saving every penny. I mean, if you've seen me on stream, you've seen some of my other content at times, like I do spend a lot of money at times. So I enjoy having very little home responsibility, and so being able to live relatively comfortably, it's pretty nice. So money for me isn't so important, but it's also like there is some privilege there, right? Like I don't have a lot of responsibilities, and I'm in a situation where like I don't really have to worry about money, right? So those are the 3 for me. And in my opinion, if you break any of the 3, if any of the 3 are like, it's not fun anymore, it's my boss doesn't have my back, and the money doesn't make sense, like if any of those 3 get broken, any of the 3, I think it's time to seek out other opportunities. And that's been my compass at all companies. The first time I left the Reds, not to like air out dirty laundry or anything, but I didn't feel like the money was making sense. I also didn't feel like my growth opportunities here were as I didn't feel like I had as many doors open here than if I left for anything else, right? Like I thought I want to start doing more managerial stuff. I want to start having a bigger hand in decision making. And I felt like those opportunities weren't going to happen here. So I looked for opportunities like that elsewhere, and that was KFC at the end of the day. Came in as a manager role, came in to hire people, put together the first data science program at the company. So that was exciting for me. My boss saw the opportunity for me, put together a really good roadmap for my growth, and money was very good. So I say this a lot, like, and I don't know if I've said this publicly to the internet before, but I would have stayed at KFC for a long time if it wasn't for the very top line for me getting disrupted. I think I stopped having fun at KFC. My work, I felt like it's kind of like hitting my head in terms of like communicating my work outward. And I didn't have a ton of supporters, it felt. And I was like, don't have a lot of support. I don't know how to gain more support, but hopefully like that changes. And as I talked to more people, they were like, yeah, you know, like the people who you're collaborating with, the people who are overseeing some of the projects that you're on, they aren't, like, they've been here for a while, and their direction of like what things should be is like founded in decades and decades of people who have also like instilled in them that these are the right ways, even if they might not be. It's like, okay, well, what do I do about that? And they said, you gotta convince them, but it's gonna take a lot because they're working off of like their bosses and their bosses' bosses information, and you are a person who's new to the company in the last 2 years. I'm like, okay. So I have little to no chance. Tried my best. It was not well received at times. And because it didn't feel like I was making an impact, it didn't feel like I was able to be creative in that company or in that space that I was in, I decided it might make sense to seek out other opportunities in order for that side of me to kind of blossom. Like I had that in baseball, but I didn't have, I wasn't having fun from a career growth perspective. Now I'm having all these things, but I'm not having fun from like a creativity and impact on the company perspective. So left and came back to the Reds, and that was extremely lucky. I didn't think that was what was going to happen at all. I had several different interviews out there, and I had 2 offers, one being the Reds offer, and I decided, you know, at the end of the day, sports and being in sports sounds way more fun, and I know what like that landscape is going to look like, rather than a brand new landscape and people that I know a lot less about, versus the people who I'm coming into back at the Reds, and I know 4 years of co-working with. I know way more about them than really anywhere else I would go. So tried to make my wants known, like this is the vision, this is what I want, this is what I see. And they were like, yeah, let's do all of it. And I was like, okay. And up to now, even now, And going forward, it feels like I'm very supported in being able to make large impacts. So all the things are checking the boxes for me, right? So they're, like I said, I think yesterday on the recruiter spam pod, like there's no real reason for me to leave. So like I'm not replying to recruiters, right? Even though I'm telling people maybe you should. But even more so than that, like, it's not like I'm seeking out a reason to leave either. Like, I have pretty strong pillars of like what I need. And so long as like I truly believe that those are the things I absolutely need in a workplace, then there's no reason for me to leave. All the things are checked, right? So for people who are out there wondering like when it's time to leave, at least for me, if any of those three things were messy or confusing or not clear at all, or even non-existent, I would try my best to like get answers to those questions. And if you couldn't get answers to those questions, then or if you get answers and you don't like them, then maybe it is time to leave. But for me, if the work is fun, if the people who are in charge of managing me have good communication with me, have a good vision for my growth, and the money is right, then I'm pretty happy. So, but I think that's pretty much it, y'all. I think I don't have a ton more, and I also lost in time in terms of like how long this has taken versus how long the first part of this took, because someone called me in the middle of it. So now I don't know anything. I'm lost. That's fine. All right, I'm gonna go. I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. By the way, it is humid and hot, albeit a little windy. And I feel absolutely gross now. So, but I do like going outside and walking around, so I'll take it. I'm gonna go cool off now in my office. All right, chat. I'll see you tonight on stream, and if not tonight, I'll catch you on the next pod. Ask questions during the Discord. See you next time.